Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video, back again with every movie I watched last week, and had a pretty good week. Ended up watching 15 movies last week, 5 of them actually being in theaters, which is pretty cool, so I got to see a whole bunch of new movies this week as well. I feel like movies are starting to come out a little bit more and ramp up a little bit, so especially as we're getting closer to the summer. It's when the blockbusters really start, so that's exciting. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting it off with my least favorite watch of the week, which was Velvet Buzzsaw, which I wanted to continue going through some of Jake Gyllenhaal's filmography. I didn't really watch much this week, especially not compared to last week. Most of my films last week were from Jake Gyllenhaal, so didn't get to really go through it much this week, but this is one of them. And this is not really a movie I enjoyed, to say the least. It was quite unique, for sure. I felt like it was, I don't know, it was hard to get into, and it felt like it really didn't know what kind of film it wanted to be. If it wanted to lean more into the fantasy, horror, or thriller vibes, or like this drama, artsy movie. So I didn't think that the themes were matched or mixed properly, and I think that kind of hindered my viewing experience. So it gets a 29 out of 100. Let's move on to something that Mel and I watched together, which was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which ironically enough, we actually both ranked a 31 out of 100. We both did not enjoy this movie. We both had a pretty bad time with it. We struggled to get through it. We just continued to pause it. This hour-and-a-half movie probably took us a little over 2 hours to watch because we were just having a miserable time with it. It was really hard to watch, and it was hard to sit through, truthfully. There really wasn't a whole lot to enjoy. Yeah, I don't know. This obviously was the first Disney princess movie made, 85 years ago, almost 90 years ago, I guess, sorry. And, yeah, I don't know. Just not a movie for us, believe it or not, Anyways, let's keep going. Moving it on to the first of the 5 movies that I've seen in theaters this week, which is Black Bag, which I ranked a 45 out of 100. This was a movie I just didn't really sink my teeth into. It was kind of boring. It felt kind of long at times, and for a 90-minute movie, it was hard to get interested in. And I see a lot of positives about this movie. Now, I don't think it's bad. Well, I do think it's slightly bad, I guess. I don't think it's like a terrible movie. It's just not something that I really got into or stayed into. It just never really held my interest at all. Let's move on to another theater watch, movie, which is Snow White. And, of course, we watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We actually both preferred, Mel and I, we actually both preferred the new live-action Snow White. And, honestly, our expectations heading into it were very low because we hadn't really heard good things. It didn't really look good. And everything we saw about the movie was just how awful, awful, awful Gal Gadot's acting was, which I personally don't think it's the worst performance I've ever seen. Obviously, I don't think it's great by any means. It's not a great performance. I'm sure Gal Gadot got her bag and she didn't really care. She just got a Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame. I don't know. Anyways, she's really just a big box office smash. She's never been known as this fantastic actress, so, good for her, I guess. Rachel Zegler was pretty decent. She's an amazing singer, of course, and I think that really shows throughout this movie. And yeah, honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, so a 48 out of 100 coming out of that's honestly pretty solid. This was also Mel's first experience in an IMAX theater, in an IMAX viewing, which she enjoyed, so that was nice as well. Let's move on to another theater watch, which is Mickey 17, which I ranked a 60 out of 100. I wrote a lot here. You guys can take a look at that. Kind of just highlighting some of the stuff I talked about. Heading into this movie, I didn't really have the highest of hopes, even though I just went through most of Bong Joon-ho's films last week, and I've pretty much enjoyed all of his films. The lowest being The Host, which I ranked, I believe, a 67 or 68. But now Mickey 17 is my lowest, which I ranked a 60 out of 100. But yeah, heading into this movie, I never really was that hyped about it because the trailers never really had me that interested. And I really just wanted to see it because it's a new movie and it's a Bong Joon-ho film. And of course, it's how he was following up Parasite. Now, I will say it's definitely interesting thematically, and I quite did enjoy the direction it ended up going. And there's some really great cinematography, score, practical effects, visual effects, special effects throughout this entire movie. And of course, it's a very, it's a very wonderfully acted movie as well. But honestly, I just kind of was decent. I ranked it a 60 out of 100. It just nothing stuck with me, I guess we'll say. Let's move on to actually another 60 out of 100, which is Ambulance, which, again, part of the Jake Gyllenhaal watch-along that I've been doing over the past few weeks. I'm not a huge fan of Michael Bay movies. I think I've made that clear before on the channel. And although this movie is a 60 out of 100 also, I didn't love this movie, but it actually ranks, I think, top 3 or top 5 of my Michael Bay movies because, again, I really don't love a lot of Michael Bay movies. This one was like a 2.5 hour action-packed thrill ride, which I do think I actually would enjoy it more on rewatch, and I also think I would enjoy it more if I get to see it in one sitting, because it's, like I said, it's literally just like 2 hours of action. It's just nonstop action, and that is pretty fun, and I do like the actors that are leading throughout this film. And it's quite an interesting take on like a crime heist, especially in like big city LA. And this one seems pretty realistic, honestly. Some of the stuff, at least. But yeah, I actually do think this could go up in rankings if I were to rewatch it. So maybe someday I will. But yeah, like I said, just not a huge Michael Bay fan. So he's got a very distinct style, and it's not for everyone, but I can understand the appeal for sure. Let's move on to Rango, which actually is one of the few animated feature films that have won Best Animated movies that I have not seen. So wanted to get that off the watch list. I haven't seen this movie ever. I had even asked my mom if maybe we had seen it when I was younger, but apparently we never did. So yeah, this is a first time watch for me, which is pretty crazy. This is a pretty highly respected movie, especially animated-wise, directed by Gore Verbinski, who made the original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, The Ring, and a couple other movies as well. So he's definitely known for his kind of quirky, I kind of want to say like quirky swashbuckler or like Western films. So he's obviously got a pretty distinct style directing as well. And although I love the Pirates movies, this one obviously is different, but I didn't love Rango, truthfully. I ranked it a 64 out of 100. I thought there was definitely moments in this movie where it shined, but there was a lot of moments that I just didn't care about it. And Johnny Depp is also someone that is very hit or miss for me. Sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't. I feel like a lot of the stuff that I've seen him in, I don't really love his performance. So, that's kind of maybe my own issue, I guess. But yeah, definitely the highlight of this movie was the cinematography, which there were some really stunning shots. And considering, a lot of people will complain saying that cinematography isn't a thing in animated movies, but it absolutely is. And I think this might actually be one of the best movies showcasing cinematography in an animated movie. This is a really beautiful movie to look at. And that was definitely the highlight of the movie for me. So Rango, 64 out of 100. Let's move on to Pokemon the Movie 2000, which was actually the only movie I watched on Saturday. Had a busy day. Wasn't able to watch much Saturday. And this one I ranked at 66 out of 100. I haven't watched the original Pokemon movie in a few years, but one of my goals for last year was watching more Pokemon movies. I've then carried that goal over to this year because I didn't really get to go through much last year. There's a few that I've seen that are on Crave right now, so I'm going to try to go through those over the year. But yeah, really, this one was a decent movie. It was entertaining. It is Pokemon after all. The voice acting was interesting at times, to say the least. It definitely wasn't the best, and it wasn't my favorite. But of course, this is just an awesome Pokemon movie, with a pretty interesting story and stuff. Some stuff we see out of the mainline games, and some stuff that's kind of different and added for this movie, which is enjoyable. Lugia is obviously pretty sweet. Seeing the legendary bird trio is pretty sweet as well. And also we had Jesse coming out in this. So shout out to the representation that Pokemon was giving to us. That's great. All right, let's move on to a Scorsese movie, which I have started going through Scorsese's filmography, surely but slowly, and I watched a few this week. Let's move on to Raging Bull, which I ranked a 73 out of 100. I'm going to actually read my review because I think this kind of sums it up. Quite a tragic story about a tragic man and the way he continuously tried or tries to sabotage himself and his relationships, which is really sad. A very flawed man with a lot of difficulties of trust, self-confidence, effort, action, insecurities, and inadequacy, which, yeah, I mean, that's just exactly what Raging Bull was about. It's really just the struggles of a man that has these insecurities about inadequacy and his trust for people, and clearly laziness as well, as you see throughout the movie. There's a lot of very interesting factors that go into, I believe, Jake LaMotta, who he was apparently a pretty special man, especially in the ring. He looked like he was quite talented, and outside the ring he looked like he was quite miserable. So it's quite an interesting way to see one of the biggest, legends, I guess, of boxing. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know a lot about boxing, but yeah, seems like he was quite a legend in the boxing world. So this was an interesting movie to kind of take a peek into that. This is Scorsese at some of his earliest work, which is pretty great to see. And of course, De Niro and Pesci, who are long-term collaborators with Scorsese, they were both amazing in this, as always. Ranked at a 73 out of 100. And actually, let's move on to the other Scorsese of the week, which was The Departed. I started off my review by saying I think I came every time I heard I'm Shipping Up to Boston, which I gotta tell you, I listened to I'm Shipping Up to Boston way too much this week. I completely forgot that song existed, and when I heard it, it just unlocked so many childhood memories, because it was such a hockey song, especially around Atlantic Canada, the Maritimes in Canada. It just seems like such a hockey song around, especially for me and my group of kids, or my age group of kids. It's quite it's a hockey classic, really, just the best way to describe it. And it was a song I completely forgot existed, and it brought back a lot of memories. And like I said, been listening to it all week, to be honest. So yeah, this was a pretty fun movie, a very thrilling movie as well. And the last half an hour, third act was absolutely insane. Probably one of the most insane, like I said, last half an hour, third acts you'll probably ever encounter, to be honest. Layered with twists and moments where I had to take a double take out of surprise. And the third act, like I said, is just actually insane with 5 different twists and turns. It was crazy. The Departed definitely shines in its Boston world. I feel like the world of Boston was really done well from Scorsese here, and I really enjoyed that. And then, yeah, I mean, obviously the ending of the movie was really fantastic. So 83 out of 100. Let's move on now to I believe the top 5. Starting it off with Flow, which is actually one of the movies I watched to start the week. Betty and I watched it together. I don't think Betty's here right now, but Betty and I watched it together, and I'm very happy to finally get this off my watch list. Of course, winning Best Animated Feature Film this year at the Oscars. Very happy about it, because it's a really great movie, and it's really awesome, with some very awesome animation as well. Very dedicated animation, I would say. And this is just a great movie, and the thing that makes this movie even better is that the adoption rate for black cats has gone up a incredible amount since this movie has gained so much popularity, since its Oscar win, which is really, really special to Mel and I, especially because we're such big Black Kitty supporters, and we love Black Kitties, and there's not many out there. So please adopt all the kitties, but adopt Black Kitties especially. They're great, even though they're a menace. Betty's a bit of a menace, but we'll pretend like that doesn't happen. She's amazing. Adopt Betty's. Anyways, Flow, I loved. Let's move on to Saving Private Ryan, which I'm finally glad to scratch this off the watch list. This is a movie that I've been needing to needing to watch for a really long time. Glad I was finally able to watch it. The opening 20 to 30 minutes and the final 45 of this movie was some really epic stuff, and this really seems like Spielberg at his best directing-wise, because the practical effects with the visual effects, with the storytelling and the emotion throughout this movie is really amazing, really tragic, and I think this is probably one of the best depictions of war I've seen. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I've been in a war, but it's really quite special what Spielberg was able to accomplish in this movie. It's really wonderfully made, and like I said, this is just what I think this might just be one of the greatest war films, and this is something I would like to rewatch. I do feel like it is slow at times, especially because of just how grand and amazing the action scenes are. I feel like it kind of takes away from the stuff in the middle at times. For me, that's how I felt. But yeah, this was a really, really wonderful watch. I'm glad to finally get it off my watch list because I really did enjoy it. And yeah, this is actually one of my favorite Spielbergs now, which, probably not surprising. 85 out of 100. Now, before I tell you what my next movie is, please don't give me shit. This is a childhood favorite of mine, and I know I'm higher on this franchise than others, but The Fast and the Furious, which I finally get to show Mel. Mel and I are going to watch the entire franchise with some friends, and this is something I've wanted to show Mel for a long time. I haven't rewatched this franchise since 2022, 2023, when I started ranking movies, so I'm excited to see how much my ranks changed, and oddly enough, this one did not change. I really expected it to, because I didn't think it was going to be as good as I remembered, but honestly, this movie was gas, and if you like this movie, you understand. This movie was just a fun, action, twisty soap opera of a movie. It was just really fun, and it, like I said, it holds a special place in my heart. Now, it's not my favorite Fast and Furious movie, but yeah, we'll be slowly going through that filmography. It'll probably take us a little while, but yeah, this is a great movie. This is a really great movie, and if you love it, you know. If you don't, that's fair, I get it. 86 out of 100. Well, let's move on to the top two now. Another movie I seen in theaters, which is Hans Zimmer and Friends, Diamond in the Desert. Now, this was actually a documentary concert film. Now, this is the first documentary I've seen in theaters, but this is also like a concert film, like I mentioned, which I seen a concert film just a few years ago when Mel and I went to go see Taylor Swift the Eras Tour. So that's kind of cool. Which Mel and I actually went to go see this one together as well, and she got to learn a lot, and she's now really interested in going through more of Zimmer's movies, because obviously Hans Zimmer is a tremendous composer, and Mel hasn't got to hear a lot of those scores or see a lot of those movies, so that's something that we're going to be doing now throughout the rest of the year. One of my goals for the year is to show Mel a lot of Nolan movies, which Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer do collab quite a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of iconic scores that like Mel has heard of, but she didn't even realize it was from a specific franchise or a specific movie, and really she's just excited to kind of go through some of Zimmer's filmography now, which I think will be fun. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I had a great time with this. Ranked at a 95 out of 100, which is now my highest documentary or concert or short film ranked on Letterboxd, which is pretty iconic now that I think about it. So that's really awesome. And shout out Zimmer, the GOAT, 95 out of 100. Let's move on to my number one watch of the week, which is Memories of Murder, directed by Bong Joon-ho. And like I said, this is my favorite watch of the week, and it's actually been added to the 5-star club. I believe my 53rd 5-star movie. Don't have many 5 stars, but this one has made it to the list. I did rank it a 97 out of 100, and this actually pretty easily became my favorite Bong Joon-ho film. I did quite like it a little bit, well, no, I quite liked it a decent amount more than Parasite. Now, I do think Parasite might be more rewatchable, but this was a very interesting movie that I really, really enjoyed, and it shows a lot of different layers, and the directing behind the camera and the set pieces that we go throughout this entire film is something really special that I don't think a lot of directors could capture, but I think it really shows off Bong Joon-ho's skills behind the camera and just as a director, because this movie is absolutely tremendous from top to bottom. The acting, the score, the cinematography, the twist, the story, the writing. Truthfully, this is one of my favorite foreign films ever, actually, now that I think about it as well. I think there's only one ahead of it, which is Train to Busan, which I believe I have at either 97 or 98 or 99, so... And I guess My Neighbor Totoro as well, which I have at a 98, I believe. So yeah, this is like top 3, top 5 for sure foreign films, which is nice to see. Nice to see. One of my goals is to get through 75, like I shouldn't say get through, is to watch 75 foreign films this year. And haven't really gotten to do a whole lot of that yet, so we're starting to get through it a little bit more now. And I'm glad I'm able to, because there's some very fantastic movies that are not from North America. So anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching. This was a long one. I am sorry. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Follow my letterbox. Link in the description. Bye-bye.